Stay in your lane. We are not the same. We cannot explain things about to change. Cause we run the game. Cause we run the game.
Howdy doody, everybody. Welcome back to another NewForm event with me, your host, Brandon Gross, and our awesome, amazing co-founder, Cole Jan. You guys did not hear it, but Cole had an extremely crazy cough attack that he purposely timed. He got it all out of his system so that he can talk beautifully to you guys today. With that being said, we have an awesome event for you guys today. I'm not gonna steal any of the thunder. I'm gonna let Cole tell you about that in a second. But I want to share with you guys, first off, I want to say hi to you guys. We have Maeve, Den, and we've got a few other people over on Instagram. I want to say hi to you guys. Let us know where you're watching from, as well as let us know if this is your first time watching as well. Each and every month at NewForm, if you guys don't know what that is or who we are, what our community does, we do 2 amazing workshops each and every month, as well as a web design challenge to help you guys further your web design skill sets. We teach processes, we talk about Wix Studio, other platforms, AI, to help you guys understand where things are moving, how other designers and ourselves are moving as well in a ever-changing world of design, with AI constantly chasing us and pushing us to be better. But we don't have to be scared of AI. Some of that stuff we're going to talk about how we use today, and what we're going to build for you guys today. Also, want to let you guys know, if you guys are watching on Instagram and you want a much larger screen, comment YouTube so you guys can watch on YouTube with us and get the templates and everything that we're going to, the Figma file and the Wix Studio template for you guys to download and play along with. With that being said, I just wanted to, I think, last pieces here. If you guys are interested in getting cash prizes, building your portfolio, or just having fun as a designer, we have a challenge each and every month. We have about 10 days left in our challenge. So if you guys want to have an awesome time building cool things, have a chance to be exposed to our Instagram audiences as well as our YouTube audience, and just being able to make something cool for your portfolio like so many other of our community members have done, join our challenge. You can find that at newform.community/challenge. Links in the description to that. All the things you guys can find from the template, the Figma file, anything about the challenge, you guys can find at our YouTube description. If you guys are watching on YouTube, or excuse me, if you guys are watching on Instagram, you either comment join if you want to join the community and learn a little bit more, or comment YouTube to come join us on YouTube. I think that's all of the house cleaning items I have. Other than that, while Cole is going through his awesome workshop, my eyes are going to be on the chat. So if you guys have questions, you guys are confused, you want to say hi, or you got comments, just pop them in the chat. I'm looking at both Instagram and YouTube to catch them while Cole is doing his thing, so I can relay your questions. So with that said, Cole, what we got today? Let us know what we got, and just let me know when to share your screen.
Perfect. Yeah, so we can go ahead and share the screen. What we're going to be working on today is actually last workshop, we were talking about Wix's new text on path. So we're going to be integrating that into a Yoga Studio landing page. We're going to be using a couple CSS grids in here. We're going to be making it fully responsive from the biggest desktop all the way down to mobile screens. And yeah, that is mostly it. And then also, I'm going to show you very quickly at the start here how we got this image here, first of all, how I found it, how I removed the background with AI in a couple clicks, and then how I cleaned it up as well afterwards as well. Okay, so yeah, that is kind of the basic rundown here. And here's the kind of the bottom so you can see it. Now, if you did want to download this, play around with it, do anything with it, just hop over to newform.community up here, and then come into resources right here and component library. And it should be the first one if we scroll down right here. But you can also access all of our other old ones here. So I know the homepage bundle is very popular. So with some other ones down here like this. But yeah, you have access to all of these. You can download them for free. You can use them on your website, use them for whatever you want. They're yours to use. So yeah, without further ado, let's kind of hop into it. So first of all, let me hop over to Figma here. So This is kind of what we started with. You'll notice that the text is absent here. That's because we'll be adding it later in Wix. And I believe there is a plugin to kind of add this in here, but it's a little tough. You gotta, you know, fiddle with it a little bit to actually get it to work properly. So we just kind of left that out, and we will add that in later. Okay. So starting off, we actually need to get this image right here. Okay. And so I really like to use pixels for that. Obviously, you can also just generate with AI. But let me hop over to my screen over here. There we go. And so, yeah, I just scrolled through, found one on Pexels that is good. You want to take into account two things. The first is kind of the layout of the person in this case. So we wanted part of her to be kind of extending off of the screen. However, typically it's best to have the subject in view. So the subject in this case is her head, right? We don't want her head to be cut off, that it looks kind of strange. So we want kind of other parts of her to hang off the screen, and we need to be aware that we have text over here on the left. So we really need her to kind of extend vertically, not so much horizontally. Okay. Yeah, so that was kind of one consideration. And then the other consideration when you're picking images is the kind of the lighting. So you'll realize that some images work better than others, especially on light backgrounds versus dark backgrounds. You might take out the background on an image, put it in, and then it just doesn't fit at all. It looks really, really strange. And actually what we've done here is with this image, we've actually changed, let me move this into the center. We've actually just fiddled with the tint and the exposure just a tiny bit. So basically what we've done is we've taken her from a little bit bluer and we've increased the tint to make her actually a little bit more pink. If I dial it all the way up, we can see it's very pink. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to match that pink background, or excuse me, with that purple background a little bit by dialing up the tint. And then once again, originally she was quite dark. That was the lighting in the room. And so we needed to dial up the exposure to kind of match our bright background here. So a couple important considerations when you are picking an image here. Then, of course, if I hop back over here, we have a background and we don't want a background. We don't need a background. So the tool that I like to use is actually called a recraft. But you could probably get away with just about any AI tool. They're all very good and they all run on basically the same models here. So what I did is I just imported it like so, and then I just hit remove background right here, just like so. Now I find this does a pretty good job. And if you have a very clear background, it'll take it out entirely. And if we zoom in on some of these parts, it's pretty good. And I should also note that this is a lower, this is I think 1920 pixels. If we were to download the full original size, we would get a much crisper line as well. Now, there are kind of a couple considerations here. First of all, we are having a few kind of artifacts here left behind, mostly in the hair and then up between her head and the arm here, okay? Now, you could kind of go back in with another AI and try and maybe grab some of that and rip it out. I find for small changes like this, I just hop over to Photo Key right here. And then we can start ripping some of this out. I really like to use this grabber lasso. I think it's the vector tool. And then we can kind of just trace along her like this and then grab a section and rip it out if I actually select it. Okay. So that's kind of the process to go through and remove backgrounds, make sure that you have nice, really high quality, clean assets. And of course, once again, you could get AI to generate a lot of this. But if it's available on a stock photo website, you may as well use that too. Yeah, so that's just kind of a pretty basic walkthrough. It could be useful for your challenges to kind of color match the background to the background of your website and to make sure that you don't have kind of any artifacts hanging around on the end result here. So yeah, that was just kind of a pretty brief walkthrough here. I want to actually get into creating this in Wix now. So, Wix Studio. So we have, this is the final version that we're aiming for here. And up here, I just have a blank canvas right here. So yeah, let's actually get started. First of all, I'm going to rip out the header and the footer here. And then I'm also going to go ahead and we're going to turn on Figma to Wix Studio. And this is going to allow us to take our design in Figma that is pretty much fully designed. We have made a few changes, which I'll talk about in a second, and bring it over to Wix with, very little issues. It'll already be pre-built for us. I find it generally saves 20 to 30 minutes of time. So come up here in the very top left and click these three lines. Come into tools, and we want to select import from Figma. Now I actually already have it set up here, but if you didn't, what we would do is we need to hop back into our Figma file, and you'll need the Figma to Wix Studio plugin right here. Should be the first one if you search it up. I have it in my recents here. And we'll go ahead and hit set up export. So we've already done this step where we grab tools and then we grab import from Figma. So all that's left to do is I need to copy this link. Now, if you're in the mobile, sorry, not mobile. If you're on Chrome or Safari, you can grab it from the browser bar up here. Otherwise, you just hit share and copy link like I just did. And then finally we'll hit I'm done connecting file, and we can set that up. So you would go ahead and paste that in here and just hit connect like so. If something isn't showing up here, that's okay. It probably shouldn't yet. It's just because I've already been working with this. But yeah, so once we have set that up, we will talk about this in a second, but matching the editing size to the frame width is very important. I'm sure you guys have heard me say this about a million times as we go through this, but just for redundancy's sake, we'll go through it again. Okay. So then we'll go ahead and hit export frame, and we would just hit export frame from there, and we would be good to go. Now, let me move this over to the side. You'll see that there are a couple differences here. So this is the final finished result here, but we have to make a few changes. Okay. So what I've done on the left here is this is actually a mask. If you can see down here, it's a mask, and we're masking this image. Now, Figma to Wix Studio does not play very nicely with masks. Yeah, it doesn't work very well with it. So what we've done is we've actually taken this out of our mask here, and we'll put it back into the mask later, but we won't for right now. And we've also taken out this ribbon here because that will be an entire component that we'll just insert in Wix Studio. However, we will be using the vector kind of shape of it, which I will talk more about in a second. So it is important, but we just aren't importing with this kind of batch right here. Okay, so I'm going to select it, and we will hit export frame, and that is kind of all you'll need to do in on the Figma side of things. If you also wanted to export styles, that is also a good step, but we will skip that this time around. Okay. So almost through with kind of the redundant stuff. So now you should see your design here. Okay. If you don't, then just hit refresh import, and hopefully it should show up if you have pasted in the right link. Now we have a Figma reference width of 1,440 pixels. And that's really important. And we need that to be the same up here. Otherwise, it's going to come in all wonky. If your screen is larger, it's going to come in super massive. Doesn't look great. Finally, last thing here, we have the option to import as a container, a section, or a page. I like to import as sections when we have full sections like this. Obviously, if you were just importing like a single card, you would do container. If you were doing a whole page, you would do the whole page. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and import that like so. And then we can actually start making some adjustments here. So yeah, it comes in pretty quickly, and it does save us actually a lot of time. So there are a couple things that look a little different here that I do want to draw your attention to. And the first is these big black containers. Okay. If we hop back over to Figma, you'll see that we actually have a rectangle overlay on these images. And so Figma Wix Studio also doesn't play super nice with overlays or opacity for that matter. So what it's doing is it's importing this rectangle, but it's importing it as a whole black box instead of as our nice gradient. So that's actually super easy to fix. There's also a little bit of a quirk where if I select this whole container, we can see that it actually brings in the text it duplicates the text, which is a little bizarre, but I'm going to go ahead and just remove that. And then we can actually, okay, it's already been parented to the right container here. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to center this horizontally and vertically like so. And now we actually have it in our container with our image. And we can actually go ahead and add our gradient now. Okay. So let me select that here. Adding gradients is super easy. Let me drag this out to the center. It's very similar to Figma actually. So we're going to set this to be vertical, so 0 degrees of rotation. And then on the color picker, I'm just going to grab black and change this to about 40% opacity. And then on here, once again, we're going to do black and we're going to change this to 0% opacity like so. And when you're doing this, make sure your text is actually above the overlay. If it's below, it's not going to work out too well. Okay. So that is that for that one there. But on this other one, we're actually going to have another quirk that I don't fully know why, but we actually have 2 boxes this time. We have our black one, our gray one, and then we have our one with the image on it. Now, I don't actually know where this gray one is coming from. So that is a bit of a mystery. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to parent our black one to this container down here. A lot of containers going on, I know. We're going to delete this. And then I'm going to come in here and we're also going to delete this text. And then we can center this to our container, drag it below our text. And once again, we can go through and just create our gradient right here. So a few quirks, but definitely saves you a lot of time. If you were to do this manually, we'd probably still be building the top section right now. So yeah, just some considerations to take into account, and we'll drop this down to 0%. There we go. Okay. So these 2 boxes are looking really, really good. So now let's focus our attention up here on the top. So first of all, yes, let's actually attach this to this container. And images can be a little bit finicky to work with. There are some strategies though that are going to make our lives a little bit easier. So first of all, I'm going to shrink this down just a touch. Yeah, just like that. And what we're going to do is this container is really large right now. However, if we try and make it smaller, it's not going to go. And that's because this image here is kind of limiting how small we can make our container. And the easy fix to that is right now we have it docked to the top. So if we come down here, we hold shift, we can also dock it to the bottom like so. Okay. And we need to dock it to the top. Okay. And it's not docking to the bottom. Okay. That's really strange. Okay. I'm going to drag this up like so. And I think, oh, I see. Okay. So it's because we have our image in a container right now. So what we're going to do is we want this to be in our main container here, and I'm going to delete the container. That was why I was confused. So now we can drag this back up like so. And this time I'm going to hold shift and yes. So if you hold shift when it's not in a container, then it will in fact dock to the bottom as well. And then we can kind of drag this around however we want. And it won't make our container much bigger than it needs to be. Okay, so now we can drag that back up and it's looking good. Now we actually need to mask this image. Okay, so in order to do that, what I'm going to do is we grab this container here, super simple. We come down to overflow content and just hit hide like so. And then everything that expands outside of the container is hidden, which is exactly what we want. Okay. Now, so this is pretty good actually. We just need to add in our text ribbon here, but thinking about responsiveness, it looks great on a desktop and it also looks pretty good on mobile. We won't be changing it too much on mobile because it is a bit of a larger UI. Landing pages typically are. You can get away with tablet being a very similar layout, especially for the larger sizes. It doesn't look too bad. However, for mobile, obviously we're going to need to rearrange some of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to be taking these 2 containers down here and stacking them one on top of the other. And then we're going to take this image. The image is going to go at the top actually, and then our text is going to slide underneath. Yeah. So we are going to implement a few grids here to make our life a little bit easier when we're doing that. And it's just generally a good practice to be doing that sort of thing. So in fact, first of all, what I'm going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to stack all of this text. Okay. And stacks are super useful. We haven't actually gone over them in a couple workshops. But yeah, basically we can set a fixed amount of space between the two elements here, or in this case, the three elements here, and then they will never kind of overlap. Super helpful when you're laying things out. Now, what we could do is we could stack these two horizontally and then stack this all vertically. But since this is more of a grid shape, we are going to lay out a grid. So I'm going to come into the section below here, and I'm just going to add a color to this. Yeah, F6 is probably good. So we have our background color. And then I'm going to add a grid layout. We're going to choose this one on the left. It does look a little different. We have 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom, but I think you can probably see where we're going with this. I'm just going to go ahead and flip these rows just like so. Okay. So now we have our big one on the top and then 2 on the bottom, just like we do up here. Okay. Now I'm going to make this just a bit taller so we can actually fit in all of our content. And then the nice thing about these grids is I can just drag this down a touch to kind of adjust some of these proportions so that we can actually fit everything in a little bit better. Okay. So then once we have our grid set up, it's pretty much as simple as just reparenting some stuff and then centering things, dragging it down a bit. And yeah, so let me grab this logo next and we'll do the same thing. We'll just pop this right in there, and then same idea with the button up at the top. I will drag it down and we can reparent just like so. And so yeah, the reason that we're doing all of this is then when we hop onto mobile, we'll be able to set this just to three rows, right? So one on top of the other, and everything is going to stack super nicely. We won't have to do a lot of adjustments, which is really nice. Okay. So yeah, we're just dragging this in, and then the buttons at the top just center horizontally and center vertically, and we are good to go. Okay, so that now we actually have a grid implemented, and that's going to make our lives a lot easier. I'm going to come up to the top, and we can just get rid of the section up above. Okay, so that is that one is good to see. So next, what we're going to need to do is now this container, we are also going to be stacking it. So this woman is going to go on the top, and then we're going to slide our text in underneath. And so in order to do that, I'm going to grab this container here, and we are going to come down to advanced CSS grid and hit apply. And then we're going to change the layout from 1 by 1 to 2 by 1. Okay. Now, since we have things nicely split already, we are, it's going to automatically split things in half, but we need to reparent and stick this on the left-hand side, or sorry, the right-hand side here. And let me make this a little bit larger so that it is actually full scale. And then I believe our text should actually be in the right kind of area already. So yeah, it's already in the left grid, so that is good to see. Okay. Now, let's actually go ahead and add in our text on path, because that is kind of what we're here for. So in the plus button, come down to text, and then you should see text on path here. There's also a lot of cool other text effects that you should definitely play around with. But for this one, we're going to go text on path. This is slightly different than text marquee. Both of them move, and both of them are kind of infinite loops. However, text marquee is always straight. It always has to be straight. Whereas text on path obviously is curvy. So that is the kind of the big difference here. Now, these are gigantic when we put them in, so it's kind of going to mess up some of our sizings here. But let me just shrink it down a touch so we can actually work with it a little bit better. And what I'm going to do is we're going to come in here, and I'm going to just drag it on top of our image so that we can actually work with it a little bit better. So right now we have kind of this weird curve and not a lot of good ways to edit it. There are some presets here, but the presets obviously aren't very, they're pretty set in stone. Not good for what we want. So instead, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to hit add new path right here. And if we come into site files, I'll already have it in here. We have this vector. Okay. Now this is from our Figma file. If you just grab the vector right here, make sure you want to export it as an SVG. If it's not an SVG, it's not going to work. So PNG, JPEG, that's no good. You need SVG here, and then you just export and then import right into Wix Studio here. So we can grab that and hit choose file, and you'll see that it has in fact changed to the right size. So that is really, really good to see. I am once again going to shrink this down, and it is kind of messing up some of our image right here. So when your image kind of gets cut off like this, it's kind of the proportions are all over the place. Just come into this settings panel right here and hit reset image just like so. Now it's still quite large for us, but now we have the exact right proportions. So I can actually go ahead and shrink this down and grab the image. If I can grab the image, there we go. And once again, it has gone all wonky on us. So I'm just gonna hit reset image once again, and that is gonna reset it for us. And I'm gonna center it on our screen, okay? Perfect. So now all that's left to do is just to mess with some of the settings in the right-hand panel here. Wix makes it super easy for us. So first I'm going to change the color to this darkish pink that we have. It's the same color as on our Figma file. The thickness you can play around with. I find the preset is actually pretty good, which is shocking. Normally the presets are not fantastic. Oops, I did not mean to do that. So yeah, we will just leave it at 250%. On mobile, we will dial it up to 300%, but right now 250 seems to be pretty good. Let me actually just drag this here. Perfect. Okay. The cap will leave as square. The text we can leave. I don't mind this yellow color, actually. It's pretty good. However, let me actually kind of drag this into position here. So you'll kind of see that we can kind of read the text here, but then a lot of it is upside down. Actually, most of it is upside down. So we can actually just change the orientation. You don't need to be flipping your vectors or anything. Yeah, we just change the orientation and then we can read most of it, which is pretty good. This HTML tag down here is also important. This is for kind of some SEO purposes. So if this is purely decorative, it doesn't have a lot of keywords on it, then you would just keep this checked. Otherwise, you could uncheck it. It doesn't change the aesthetics in any way. Like I said, this is purely SEO. Okay. And then finally, we have movement down here. So actually, I'm going to hop into preview right now, and we can see that right now, first of all, it's moving. It's moving really slowly. And if I hover on it, it does in fact stop. Okay. And I'm going to change a couple settings there. So first, let's hop back into movement. And I'm going to change the speed to probably 1.5. I don't fully know what the numbers mean. They're a little arbitrary, but obviously higher is faster. We're going to keep apply movement on. We'll do left to right, and then I'm going to turn off pause to hover. And now we're actually moving the text relatively good. We could probably move even a little faster, but that's okay. Okay. Last thing, we can hop in here, and you can actually add a link to this. We won't, but yeah, if you wanted to add maybe kind of like a call to action in a bit of a curvy line, that would actually be really cool. Yeah, so I'm just going to come in here and we're going to say, I don't know, connect with your body, mind, and spirit. Okay, something like that. Oh, and I am messing this up a little bit. Okay, connect. There we go. And then, yeah, generally you want to have a bit of a divider in there. You could do something like this star. You could do kind of this pipe that we have on the keyboard. Even like a slash or a backslash would be, pretty good, but some sort of divider is generally a good idea. And yeah, there we go. That's been all set up and it looks pretty good. So from a desktop point of view, we are looking pretty good on this front. If we make it super big, looks good. If we make it smaller, also looks fine. And even for tablet, we're going to keep this kind of same structure here. We're not going to change a whole lot, but obviously once we start shrinking down to mobile, things start to get really small. And so we obviously need to kind of rearrange things, hence why we set up our grids. So let's hop back into editing here. And yeah, let's actually start making some quick changes here. So we're going to hop down into mobile. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to come into the section grid here. And in the change layout, we're going to change this from collage to rows right here. Okay. That is going to change our collage from that one big one on the top and the two ones down below to 3 equal rows, which we're going to edit in a second because we're not going to want them to be equal. And it has gone ahead and dispersed our content pretty much appropriately. Now, these containers aren't kind of the right size, so we're just going to stretch them to be the full size of our container here, and same idea down below. And then last thing, we also, actually, it appears that our container ended up below. So let's actually pop these back above. And then last thing, I want to change the text. We're going to need to make it much larger. So we'll do something like 16 pixels. That should probably be pretty good. And then once again, we'll hop in here and another 16 pixels, just like so. Okay. So those two are virtually done. We could adjust some of the corners, maybe add a hover effect, but for the most part, that is looking pretty good. Okay. Now let's hop back into the section grid here. And I'm just checking the time real quick here. Okay, we're looking pretty good. Yeah, so in the section grid, we have a lot of control actually with CSS. So right now we have 200 pixels, 200 and 200. We're gonna bump this up to something probably closer to 350. Actually, we'll do maybe like 500 even. Yeah, make it quite large, okay? If it's too big, we can obviously shrink it down later, okay? And then same idea with this container here. We have a 2x1, and then in this drop down or in the side panel right here, we can change this to a 1x2, and that's gonna reorient our text and our image. Now we can see that it's obviously not the right way. We've flipped down instead of flipping the opposite direction. So we'll just need to drag some of this around. First of all, another good reason for the stack is everything is kind of bundled together. We just drag everything all at once, and everything comes with it. Okay, so we'll do something like that. And my image has disappeared, so that is not good. Where is it going? I have lost the image. Why is it disappearing? Let me undo, and we will see. Okay. So actually what I'm going to do is we'll come down here and we'll just set it to the top one. I'm not sure why it was disappearing. It was probably hopping out of this container. But yeah, now we can actually start setting some things up. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to drag this down just to make it kind of the full width the full height of the screen. I'm also going to hop in here and we're going to change the rows. So right now, the top one is actually smaller. I'm going to set this up to be something like 340 pixels. And then we can shrink the other one down to be like 170 or so. We might need to play around with those a little bit, but for the most part, it looks pretty good. So yeah, let's actually start rearranging some of this stuff. So we're going to need to make this image smaller, and to actually get it in, I'm just going to hide our text on path for a second so I can actually manipulate the image a little bit easier. And what we can do is we can center it in the container just like so, and that looks pretty good. You'll see that her knee is kind of getting cut off, so once again we can hop back in here and just hit reset image, and that should kind of fix some things for us, and then we can center once again. And yeah, that looks pretty good. We might drag it over a touch just to keep her a little bit more center. Then the text on path, we can bring that in, and I think it should be a pretty good size. We're just gonna bring that in like so. Now I am gonna dial up the thickness a touch, and then in the text, we can also dial up the text. Actually, oh yeah, here we go. So font size, this is a slider. It's not actually, you can't actually pick your specific font size, which is fine. I don't think we really need to. So we'll dial this up a touch, and then I'm actually gonna reduce the thickness because it has gotten a lot thicker. So yeah, something like that, so that you can actually read that text. Keep in mind that this is mobile, so it's a lot smaller, and the text is also moving not in a straight line, in a curve. So keeping the animation slower so that it's actually legible is important. Okay. And then kind of the last thing that we need to do here is dial up some of these text settings. So I'm going to do 24-ish, and then 16. Once again, this is a landing page, so we can afford to make it relatively large. And then in here, I'm going to hop into the text on this button, and we will also dial this up a little bit. Perfect. Okay. And then in the stack, I'm going to make it a little wider so our text can expand a little, and we will center it in the container just like so. And obviously, if you were building like a full mobile application or website or landing page, you would have kind of some margins in here. Everything would be set to fill those margins. We've done a lot of that in past workshops. We're more focusing on kind of the images and the text effect this time around. But yeah, that's obviously a best practice to take into account. And then, yeah, last thing that we would do up here before we finish up here is I would just need to make the text a little bit larger here. So in the section, we're actually going to need a little more space up top. So we'll say something like 560 perhaps. And then we can drag this whole container down a touch to give us a little bit of room up top. The logo doesn't need to be massive. We'll do something like 10 pixels and we can make that a little bit wider. And then same idea with this, we will drag it out and then, yeah, just dial up the text size. Obviously, if you were kind of doing this a little bit slower than I was and had a little bit more time, then the appropriate thing to do would be to hop into the site styles here and then hop into typography. You would make, set up kind of your rules right here for all of the headings. And then obviously your text will abide to that and you don't need to kind of do it piece by piece here. But yeah, so if we hop onto preview here, we can see our text is in fact moving. Everything is pretty legible. If you were to view this on your phone, you'd actually be able to read it. And yeah, I think that is more or less it from me. Brandon, if there are any questions or comments, now's the time.
Alrighty, guys, you heard the man. It is time for questions, but the first one, because I wanted to save it to the last piece. Keisho had a good question in the chat. They were curious if the path of the SVG or that. Actually, Keisho, I want, if I'm not asking your questions correctly, let me know in the chat. But basically, what I understood was, is there a way to animate the SVG in Wix Studio, I guess? So just that squiggle that we have,
yeah,
is there a way to animate that?
Like so that it moves?
There might be a way, but
so that it moves when, like when someone visits the website, the text is on a path and the path is also kind of moving. Is that the question?
I am assuming that's the question, but Keisho,
Okay.
let us know if that is not the question.
Yeah, let us know. I will say, I think so. And I believe that it would only be possible with CSS. Now, Wix CSS is a little bit more restrictive than normal CSS. So it depends. I haven't tried it. But I would imagine that if you hopped into, if we came into the site right here, I think that you could. JavaScript animations might be a little different. And maybe not, now that I'm thinking about it more, since this is kind of a Wix custom element here. I honestly can't say for sure. Actually, I'm going to change my answer. I don't think you can. That's my final answer. I think you could recreate this with kind of a custom element with some CSS, with some JavaScript, and you definitely could in vanilla actually animate it, but I think in Wix you probably can't. Assuming that was the question.
I think so. And,
Hampus
is. Yeah.
I think Hampus, I think you're right. Like, so we could take this whole thing, we could move it, we could change it, but I don't know about the path. Do you think we can change the path? In the animation tab, I don't think that there's anything to actually animate the path. Yeah, like we can obviously make it bigger, smaller, move it, rotate it however we want. But I don't know if we can actually move the path itself, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And there might be some weird, complicated way of doing it. Like, I'm sure all things are possible, but how many backflips do you want to do just to, like, do something that might be simple somewhere else? You know what I'm saying? And not necessarily somewhere else, but, like, I'm almost thinking, like, if I really wanted... And it might be asked backwards too. If I really wanted, Yeah, I actually don't know how I would do it. My designer brain says I would bring a transparent video of the, the moving SVG that I wanted, and then I would put the text on top and make sure that it just moves in tandem with whatever I animated and brought in. But somebody who actually knows the Wix platform in and out and is an excellent coder would be like, probably someone from their product team would be like, actually, if you drop these lines of code, the line will move. We don't have that for you guys. We'll try to do some digging. We'll talk to Robert today. But I don't think there's a clear way of doing it through their UI, which was basically the question. Is there a native way of doing it?
Yeah. I mean, you could, if you got like a iframe, you could absolutely rip that yourself. But yeah, like Brandon said, I don't think there's a native way. Basically, container, use native animation on the container. I don't know, Fennec, if that'll change the actual path itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of just the same, like the broad strokes of the native animation of Wix Studio, but not the path. So we can animate it, but not specifically what Keisho is asking.
Yeah. Exactly.
Correct, Keisho. We'll just have to do it without using the inbuilt path element.
Yes.
All right. So if there is no other questions, you guys know what the deal is. If there is, I'm going to switch screens really quick so you can see me in Cole's beautiful face front and center real quick. Erwin is saying, make the path wobbly, won't be doable for sure. Yes, no wobbly. But thank you guys for hanging out for today's workshop. We have another workshop next week. Please keep, some of you guys are asking in our chat or me directly if we have events. This week, I'm not gonna lie, it is our fault. We had a lot of stuff to do last week, and I was late on sharing the event today. Literally, the announcement went out yesterday. So we're gonna be letting you guys know a little bit more in advance, hopefully this week, what next week is going to, what our workshop is going to be, so we can prepare you, we can get your templates to you, everything. So when you RSVP, you get the Figma, you get just all the assets associated with next week's workshop ahead of time. Maybe it takes us time to build that, but hopefully you guys are able to see what next week's session is going to be, so you guys can RSVP and know what is going to happen before we get there. Also, another thing, if you guys haven't already, this is your first time here watching this, you're like, oh, two cool floating heads, I learned a little something, watch this on Instagram, I dig it. Join our NewForm community, because you do not want to miss our 2 awesome workshops each and every month that are absolutely free, with the free templates, resources that we share, some of our past content as well, and all of our components and all that stuff on the NewForm community. We literally drop 2 templates, 2 Figma files, 2 workshops, and have sessions like this each and every month. It's a lot of value that you don't want to miss for absolutely free. There's no way you can lose by literally just subscribing, following, joining the community, because you would be surrounded by not just us, but there's a lot cooler people than us in the community that I am proud, that Cole is proud to be around. So thank you guys for being both in the community, watching here if this is your first time, and being here with us for the workshop. Other than that, our challenge, we have 10 days, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 10 days in a couple hours. I believe so, because the deadline is the 21st. So we got a couple of you guys in the chat who are working on the challenge so far, and we would love to see a lot more from you guys, and also get some newcomers into the challenge as well. If you guys have not seen, over the next couple of weeks, if not a couple days, we are going to be posting on Daily Web Designs the submissions that we got from August, to give some love in our stories to our people who submitted in the August challenge. This is something that we're going to try to do as time goes on. If you guys like it, if we see you guys reposting stuff, you guys resharing some of the work that you posted, cool, we keep it going. But if we see no engagement and whatnot, we want to make sure that you guys can be seen and all that stuff. Basically give you what we promised you, is make sure we do this awesome challenge each and every month. It's great for your portfolio. It's great to get out of like the boring corporate stuff that professionals do on a daily basis. It's a place for us to exercise our creativity. And we just want to make sure that we give you that stage and in prizes and recognition that we can. So with that being said, let me see. Erwin is asking, to your question, yes, we don't have to go deep into that, but yes, that is me. Let me see. If there's no other questions, guys, I will see you today in our design and chat, which is an hour of just hanging out. You guys can bring your challenges. You guys can bring, you know, some of the technical issues that you want to work through, some things you have questions about Wix Studio, or you can just come in and hang out. But I think that is it for me and Cole today. Cole, do you have any last things for the community, for the peeps?
Yeah, not too much. Thanks for coming. We appreciate you guys coming out, and hopefully we will see you same time next week for our next workshop, which I will be getting out to you guys very promptly here.
All right. And the last thing, if you guys were watching this on Instagram, you guys like what you watch, comment join to join NewForm. We'll send you an automatic DM to join the community. With that said, thank you guys for hanging out. Brandon and Cole out. Have a great day. See you guys in design and chat. Peace.